So I did the research. I did the research on shirts, I did the research on pants, and now it is time for me to draw them on people. At first, I want to tell you something else that I found out. Now, what I have here is some illustrations of some sleeves that I did when I was trying to figure out how to draw creases, and I think I kind of got it. I think I kind of got it how to do it. So, if for example, I'm going to do this very quickly before I jump to the other part, and it's like, let's say that I have this arm, right? Now this arm is here, it's folded here, so what I want to focus on is on the folds that are going to be on this part. So here we have the hanging point, and here is going to be the resting point, obviously. So the first thing that I like to think about, that I realize, is, you know, when you are squeezing a ketchup bottle and it starts falling down and then it starts like spiraling of sorts, how it gets together? Well, I believe that this is kind of like the same, but it does so in rings. So first you have this ring, then you will have a second ring that's going to be a little bit more straight, and then you have going to have like some sort of third ring. And you know, the thinner the fabric is going to be, the more rings you're going to have, because the more wrinkles you're going to have. And so for example, in this particular case that I like to practice on, is like we're going to have this wrinkle, and this wrinkle is going to have this volume here. So this is the space between the wrinkles, and this is the space between the last wrinkle, which is, you know, the further away they are from the resting point, the least aggressive they are going to be. But here, for example, you know, you have this. It does look like an arm, right? And if you're going to be like, if there's someone wearing a shirt, the resting point is going to be somewhere around here, so you're going to have this. And that's it, look! It works, doesn't it? And the most important thing is, there's also another thing that I wanted to tell you, that is that when I did a video about drawing expressions, I told you that in order to figure out how to draw expressions, you didn't have to focus on the wrinkles of the face or the eyes or everything, but actually focus on the cheek, the ball, the thing in your face that has least things to look at, because it's just skin. But depending on how this moves is how everything else is going to react. And in this particular case, it kind of works in the same way. Like, what you have to focus on is not on the wrinkles, that is what you have to draw, but you have to figure out these volumes and how they are going to be working. These are the volumes that you should be paying attention to when you're drawing wrinkles. And in this particular case, it's the same thing. So now what I want to show you is that I found some naked people on the web, which is fairly easy. And since we've been doing just men clothes, because I want to do female clothes next week, because I think that is like it's like a whole another thing, and I don't have female clothes to dress as a girl and model, so I just did male. I mean, I have my wife's clothes, but I don't really want to use them. And so what I want to do is, with this transparency, I want to start using all what I know and what we found out this week to start drawing clothes on these naked people as practice. So, hanging point, resting point, hanging point, resting point, and resting point and hanging point here, resting point. Does it make sense to you? Also, resting point here, and hanging point here. This is how I think it is. This is going to be a resting point. This is going to be a hanging point. This is very clear, right? So now I'm going to quickly shut up and just speed this up while I draw, based on just this information that I just told you. So, how does it look? Does it look like this works? I know there are a few things that I can work on, but it does work, doesn't it? So, well, I want to move on to the next one. So let's do the quick thing first. And this one is going to be a bit hard because I want to put him some like a shirt, like a long sleeved shirt. So let's do this. So hanging point, hanging point, hanging point, hanging point. Here is going to be resting point, hanging point, and resting point here. This is going to be hanging point, hanging point, well, resting point, because he's going to have this here. Now, this is a tension point, but it's going to be hanging here because of the curve. This is going to be a resting point. This is all going to be hanging from here on this side. Resting point here. Now, here on the leg, there's going to be a hanging point here, a hanging point here, a resting point here. And there's going to be here, there's going to be a hanging point here. And there are not going to be any resting points because of how the leg is. But there's going to be a tension point here, and also the tension point here, and the tension point here from the stitches. Now, because this is a shirt and there's going to be something here in the middle, all the tension that's going to go to this place is going to be cut off by the buttons here. Let's go. Part 2. So how does it look? There are some things here on the shirt that I think that I need to fix. Like this could be a little more baggy, right? And this could be a little more like wrinkled, I guess. Like that is the most complicated part of the shirt for sure. But the pants are okay. They were well like pretty easy. Like, well, they should be going like this here. I just did the hanging point on the knee. And the sleeves, I think I did pretty okay. Now that I'm not looking at the model, I can see a few more things that I could do. I really don't know about this curve. I feel like it is a little bit unnatural. Maybe this curve will go like this. Or maybe there's just too much tension in the shirt that I made maybe just a bit too tight. So maybe there shouldn't be any tension there, period. Although this thing here, because of this movement, because of the lifting of the arm, this should be a little bit looser than this that is going to be tense because it's going to be falling like this. And this shouldn't be here. Well, I'm a little bit happier with this way. And now for the final one. Well, okay, so let's do this thing. So, real quick. So hanging point, tension point, hanging point, resting point here, hanging point, resting point here. Well, nothing is going to be hanging there. Hanging point, resting point here, and then hanging point, resting point here, hanging, resting point here. Hanging point here, resting point here. Here is going to be a hanging point, and well, the tension points where the usually tension points are. And what do you say, like a hoodie or something like that, and some like really thick pants, maybe? Well, let's just see. So, what do you think? This one was a little bit more challenging because of the torsion of the body, but you just take all the lines there to maybe the highest point, because this is not going to be hanging from this point and it's going to be hanging off from this. It's all going to come down from here. I am super satisfied with the results. I had to be honest with you. I didn't think that I was going to get this in just a week. So, well, you know how it is. So let's just do a really quick recap. So, hanging point, resting point, tension point at the seams, and for the creases and how to figure them out, think of them as rings, like gravity rings, like one ring falling on top of the other, or like the SketchUp that you press and it goes swirling on top of the other, because in the flow and the flexibility of fabric, you can interpret it as something more like a liquid type, I guess. So, well, I gotta be honest with you, I'm pretty happy with myself. So, well, this is going to be it for today. My name is Javi and I can draw. Thank you so much for watching. This is going to be also it for the week. I love you all. Like if you like it, subscribe if you want to see more of this. I'll see you on the next week. Have a good weekend. Bye.